$152. That's it. That's the number that may have just broken one of the most baffling kidnapping cases in modern American history wide open. Not millions. Not thousands. $152 sitting inside a Bitcoin wallet. And the moment someone touched it, the FBI was already watching. Because here's what most people still don't understand about this case. The kidnappers didn't just make one mistake. They made a series of calculated moves that they believed were invisible. And one by one, every single one of those moves has been turned against them. Today, we are going deep into the evidence layers of the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, the Bitcoin trail, the pacemaker data, the DNA story, the Walmart backpack, and what the FBI is now calling its single best lead. Stay with me, because this one is going to change everything you think you know. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more updates. Let's start at the beginning, because the foundation of this story matters. Nancy Guthrie is the 84-year-old mother of NBC's Today show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. On February 1, 2026, she was kidnapped from her home in the Catalina Foothills, a quiet, affluent suburb north of Tucson, Arizona. Wikipedia. The night before, everything seemed completely normal. Nancy had dinner at her daughter Annie's house. She was dropped off at her own home at around 9:48 p.m. by her son-in-law, Tomaso Cioni. Police say he waited until she was inside before driving away. Her garage door closed at 9:50 p.m. CBS News. That was the last time anyone who loves her saw her safe. Then the night turns dark. Her doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Blood was found trailing from her front door to the edge of her driveway, and DNA confirmed it was hers. CBS News. Sheriff Chris Nanos described this from day one as a targeted kidnapping, not a burglary gone wrong. He also noted that Nancy could not walk more than 50 yards on her own due to mobility issues, completely ruling out the idea she wandered away. Capitalism Institute. This was planned. This was deliberate. And whoever did this had done their homework. Now here's where it gets forensically intense. The FBI recovered previously inaccessible footage from residual data in Nest camera backend systems. That footage shows a masked male suspect approaching Nancy's front door. He's described as approximately 5'9" to 5'10", average build. CBS News. In one clip, the suspect approaches the door and raises a gloved hand to the camera. In another, he's facing the camera with a flashlight in his mouth before covering the lens with vegetation. News Nation, think about that for a second. This person came prepared. They knew exactly where the cameras were. They brought tools to defeat them. The FBI identified the suspect as carrying a black 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker pack backpack, sold exclusively at Walmart. They also spotted what appeared to be a gun holster. Investigators then began reviewing Walmart purchase records, both in-store and online, hoping to trace the exact buyer. CBS News. Sheriff Nanos called the backpack one of the most promising leads in the entire case. CBS News, but then came the DNA. Investigators collected 16 gloves from the surrounding area. One glove, found about 2 miles from the home, contained a DNA profile of an unknown male, and it appeared to match the gloves worn by the suspect in the doorbell camera footage. CBS News. The nation held its breath. The FBI ran it through CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, a database containing over 26 million genetic profiles of offenders, arrestees, and forensic samples. The result came back no match. The sample didn't match any of the more than 26 million people in the system. NPR. That's a gut punch. But here's what Sheriff Nanos said next, and pay attention to this, because it's critical. Now we start with genealogy and some of the partial DNA we have at the home. To me, that's more critical than any glove I found 2 miles away. NBC News. Investigators turn to investigative genetic genealogy, the same technique that caught the Golden State Killer, comparing the crime scene DNA against profiles in commercial genealogy databases containing data from over 26 million people. Newsweek. The suspect may not be in a criminal database, but chances are, somewhere out there, a distant cousin is. And when that thread pulls, the whole sweater unravels. This is the part of the story that stops people cold. At 2:28 a.m. on February 1st, Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her phone app. Hello. That timestamp, 2:28 a.m., became one of the most significant pieces of data in the entire investigation. It marks the moment investigators believe she was physically removed from her home. Think about what that means. While the kidnappers were neutralizing cameras and covering their tracks, Nancy's own heart was logging the timeline of that night in real time. The FBI deployed a helicopter-mounted device known as a signal sniffer, described as sophisticated FBI technology, specifically designed to detect pacemaker signals from the air. News Nation, they are literally flying over the Arizona landscape, trying to hear the beat of her heart. The Pima County Sheriff's Department confirmed investigators are working with the pacemaker manufacturer and outside experts to assist in locating the device. NBC News. An 84-year-old woman's medical device has become her best chance at being found. That detail alone should shake you. Now, let's talk about the $152, because this is the heart of the story. Multiple ransom notes were sent to media outlets, including TMZ, and 2 Tucson television stations, demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin. The FBI confirmed it was analyzing the notes and the cryptocurrency addresses tied to them. CBS News. Activity was then recorded in the cryptocurrency wallet linked to that ransom note. At least one transaction was made directly to the Bitcoin address detailed in the ransom demand. AZ family. Here is what makes Bitcoin both the perfect ransom tool and the perfect trap. As TRM Labs global head of policy Ari Redboard explained on Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, every transaction occurs on a public blockchain. Every transaction is traceable, trackable, and immutable. In other words, it's there forever. Crypto is the ultimate crime scene. Parade. The kidnappers believed Bitcoin gave them invisibility. What it actually gave them was a permanent, public record of every single financial move they made. Tony Yazbek, co-founder of the Bitcoin Way, explained the psychology. Asking for ransom in Bitcoin lets the person demanding payment avoid banks, chargebacks, and identity checks. Bitcoin feels anonymous to most people, which gives the person making the demand confidence that they are harder to identify. Parade. That false confidence is what trips criminals up every single time. The FBI is now calling the Bitcoin trail its single best lead in the entire case, entering its third month of investigation. Parade military-grade blockchain forensic tools don't see borders. They don't need international court orders. They follow the math, transaction by transaction, until that math points to a name. And that $152? In the world of blockchain forensics, that microscopic transaction functions like a tracking chip. Once it moves, investigators see exactly where it goes, which wallets it passes through, and eventually, which exchange converts it to real currency. An exchange that, by law, requires identity verification. That is not a theory. That is how it works. And that is exactly what the FBI is chasing right now. The note situation in this case is deliberately chaotic, and that chaos tells its own story. TMZ received 2 new notes on the same day Savannah Guthrie returned to the Today Show. The first claimed to know where Nancy's body is and who the kidnapper is, demanding half a Bitcoin. Minutes later, a second note arrived claiming the sender saw Nancy alive in Sonora, Mexico. Yahoo! Dead, then alive. In Mexico. The contradiction is almost calculated. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer told Newsweek that the notes reveal a scheme designed to torment the Guthrie family for a quick profit. Capitalism Institute. But she made a fascinating point. Even a bad actor sitting on real information can be traced. Pay half a Bitcoin and watch where it goes. She called it tickling the wire. Putting half a Bitcoin in and watching. Do they take it? Do they convert it to pesos? How does it come out into currency? She called it the last breadcrumb. Capitalism Institute. Meanwhile, a California man named Derek Colella was already arrested for sending fake Bitcoin ransom texts directly to Annie Guthrie and Tomaso Cioni, trying to exploit the family's desperation. Fox News predators circle cases like this. It's one of the most disturbing realities of a high-profile investigation. Now let's address the elephant that has dominated social media for weeks. Online speculation exploded pointing fingers at family members, specifically Annie Guthrie and her husband Tomaso Cioni. And here is where we have to be responsible with facts, because the verified truth matters. Authorities have publicly and repeatedly stated that all immediate family members, including Annie Guthrie and her husband Tomaso Cioni, have been cleared as suspects and are considered victims in this case. The Sunday Guardian, Sheriff Chris Nanos stated clearly, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious, and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. Parade. Annie Guthrie is described as a working professional in academic and creative fields. Tomaso Cioni works as an educator. Their household is described by those who know them as stable, with no known financial strain. The Sunday Guardian. Retired FBI agent Jennifer Coffin-Daffer publicly rejected the online allegations against Annie, calling them unsubstantiated and based on speculation rather than evidence. Parade. The real suspect remains unknown. The real perpetrators are still out there. Spreading unverified accusations doesn't bring Nancy home. It just drowns the investigation in noise. So here's where this case stands right now, as of today. Nancy Guthrie has been missing since February 1st, 2026. As of April 15th, she has not been located. The investigation remains active. Wikipedia The family has offered a $1 million reward for information leading to her recovery. Wikipedia The FBI has raised its own reward to $100,000. Morning Honey. The Bitcoin Trail is live. The DNA genealogy search is running. The Walmart backpack lead is active. The pacemaker signal hunters are in the air. And somewhere in a federal database, a $152 transaction is sitting like a fingerprint on a wall, waiting to be matched to a name. Whoever did this believed they could outsmart a system that remembers everything. The blockchain doesn't forget, DNA doesn't lie, and a pacemaker doesn't stop recording just because the cameras went dark. Nancy Guthrie deserves to be found, and the evidence to find her already exists. It's just a matter of time before it speaks. If you have any information, call the Pima County Sheriff's Department tip line at 520-351-4900 or the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI.